are you okay?
Hello everybody, welcome to Mother Rabbit's kitchen. We're making meatballs.
I'm
Wait,
gonna-
take a picture of it.
5 kids,
Yep.
no husband right now.
She
He'll
is
come soon.
meatballs.
Have I taught you nothing?
Wait.
That's not helpful. It's taking deep breaths.
So
So let's do this again. Like, take 2. Hey, do you guys know what this herb is?
basil.
All right, we are gonna start making our meatballs. We have a really big bowl. This makes 24 huge meatballs. We will be eating this tonight and tomorrow night, and then I'm going to have leftovers to put in Ziploc bags and stick in the freezer for another night. It's much cheaper when you buy the big pack of meat and fewer dishes when all you have to do is put everything in one pot to heat it up. So the first thing we're gonna do is get our eggs in. I'm holding the breadcrumbs, but I'm saying eggs. So we're gonna crack 3 eggs. Skylar, will you do that for me, honey?
Of course.
We'll do 3 eggs. Stir up those eggs. Good job. Then we have our breadcrumbs that I chopped up in the food processor yesterday.
It
And I'm just gonna pop
wasn't
in this
really work. Sure.
And Catherine, do you want to throw those breadcrumbs in there?
This is a great show.
So this is about 2 cups of breadcrumbs. It might be a little over. Then we're gonna put in a cup of milk.
Enter in there.
I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this. Yeah, do you want to try to eyeball it and see?
Maybe that much.
More. 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 That's good. Whoa, okay. That was more like a cup and a half. That's totally fine. I think we'll probably need.
I thought
That's okay.
you were just like,
Cat's gonna stir it up.
Just a half no, it's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. It's meatballs.
My
Anything goes with meatballs. All right, look at that. They're getting so just wet and really soft in there.
Can I see?
They're absorbing all the moisture from the milk and
Oh
eggs.
yeah.
That's gonna help the
One
meatballs
second.
bind together. All right, I'm gonna chop up an onion. I probably won't use this whole thing. So a small onion for even this large batch of meatballs would be totally fine. I love onion, but when a meatball has too much onion, it's just a little overwhelming. So I'm just peeling off some layers of this onion. Make it kind of simple.
Onion makes me cry. I hate onion.
You can also use red onion or like any onion that you want.
Wait, don't me. I want to try. I want to do it too. I wash my hands, Mama.
All right, guys, do you see how I sliced it one way? Kind of making like a checkerboard. I sliced it one way.
I didn't see all of it because
That's-
I didn't know
okay. Then I hide my thumb
You
and I make my fingers straight up and down. I don't want to put fingertips in front of a knife. That would not be safe, right? So I make my fingers straight up and down, standing up, and I hide my knife behind.
sort of like when you're on piano, but a little more pointy, so you can
Yeah.
get it.
A little bit, yeah. So then you can chop, and sometimes I just do that. That's not really like a knife skill, but it just keeps things neat.
Did you already chop like a chop?
Oh, I'm not gonna do that with onions. That gets so messy. I kind of keep them like just
does onions
intact.
make me cry?
All right, you guys can
It's
stir
because
those
of the
onions in.
smell.
You can do about like 2 to 4 cloves of garlic. Sometimes if I have the time, I will saute the onions and the garlic in a little bit of butter or olive oil just to soften them up. If I have time, I will do that. But it is already 5:10 and I really want to get dinner going so we can get on with our evening and then, you know, every parent's favorite part of the night.
Dinner. Dinner.
Dinner, yep, that's what I meant, dinner.
Oh, I thought it was dinner.
Well,
You said dinner.
I definitely love dinner. That's probably my other favorite part of the night.
Eat ice cream.
I just have this ingredient list in my phone. I'm actually excited to write out an official recipe so I can put it in the description. Then I will actually have my own recipe written out. Good job walking away for that sneeze. Can you go wash your hands real quick for me?
Miss Rabbit has been teaching us how to not sneeze in the bowl to get germs everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
All right, I'm gonna chop up this garlic really fine. If I were sauteing it first before putting it in the mix, I wouldn't have to chop it up that fine because it would take that sharp raw garlic flavor out. But since I'm going straight raw garlic in there, I mean obviously the garlic's going to cook when we cook the meatballs, but I do want to just chop it up super fine. I just don't want to bite into a huge piece of garlic. Are you getting sleepy?
Yeah.
Are you feeling okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right? Do you want to like lay down for a little bit?
Yeah.
Do you want to sit in that chair and watch? Are you okay, honey? What's wrong?
I think she's just tired.
Are you just tired, sweetheart? Do you feel sad? The onion's making you sad?
I don't like onions. That's why I don't look at onions.
Okay.
People got onions.
Okay. Well, the onions are going to disappear really soon. Once I add all of the other ingredients, the meat's going to go in there and it will not be oniony anymore. Thank you, Sky, for taking care of her. Onions make my eyes get very teary-eyed also.
Me too. Can I get you a camera sauce? Call me if you need. Sure. Get anything.
Alright, so I've chopped the garlic pretty fine, but if you want it even more fine, almost like a garlic paste to really blend in with that meat, you can sprinkle some kosher salt on top of the garlic. And just keep in mind that you've already kind of pre-seasoned the mixture with that, so when you season everything else. And then you just kind of take the side of your knife, or the back of your knife, is that the back or the side? And you just kind of like grind it, rub it against the cutting board. The salt acts as an abrasive and it kind of gently mashes the garlic. Really bringing out all those juices, makes it blend much better with the mix. It's not an essential step in meatballs. It's definitely, I consider this an essential step anytime you are making a dip or anything with raw garlic, like I put raw garlic in guacamole and salsa. What else? Bruschetta, like tomato bruschetta. That's one of my favorites. This is like very therapeutic. I could just do this like
all day.
Yeah, I could do it for a while. It's kind of like kneading bread. It's just like pressing it down and saying, yes, okay, like all of my thoughts and feelings out on this garlic.
And you might want to have 2 people doing this cooking because you might.
Or 3 or 5 or 8, yeah, whatever you have in the house at the moment. So now we've got our basil. I'm gonna put lots of yummy basil. I already washed this and dried it. I'm just pulling off these leaves. I'm gonna roll up the basil. Basil is a very sensitive little leaf. You don't want to chop it too roughly because it will bruise.
Mother Rabbit is actually going to tell us right now what bruise means.
Bruise just basically means that you can see it starting when I slice it. It kind of gets like a little bit dark. You're kind of breaking through where the water is inside the leaf. So, I mean, you really don't want to go, a rough chop of basil is so simple. If you get a big mouthful of basil, that's actually a good thing. I mean, I could just eat basil like by itself, it's so good.
Yeah,
so I'm going to throw that basil in there.
Is it healthy?
Oh, basil? Yes. It's like lettuce, it's like salad. So healthy. All right, I am also going to take, so why don't you pass it over to Kat? I am going to just take half of this parsley because the other half I'm going to put back in the fridge and I'm going to use it for making homemade potato salad, which we're going to do tomorrow for our little cookout on Sunday. All right, so I'm going to rip this parsley off. I'm going to save that for next time. I am not quite ready to let you chop, but I do think you are ready to start learning how to use a knife.
Could I start with a small knife?
Yeah, I should like order you like a special knife for kids. I don't want to give you this knife because this knife has been with me since culinary school, which was like 17, 18 years ago, and it's an amazing knife. It even has like my initials inscribed in it, my maiden name initials, so we could tell our knives apart. And it's such a good knife, but it is like chipping. And for a while I thought, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to get a good knife. I can't hold my knife properly because there's a missing piece. But then I just kind of like figured out a way to like form my hand, and now I can hold it like super sturdy. Parsley is not as sensitive as, so this is a good lesson. What did you do that was like a no-no in the kitchen?
I held that in front of a knife.
Right. You never put your hands, little fingers or even big fingers, you never put hands near a cutting board that has a knife, okay? Never, never, never. So if you want something, you use your mouth to tell me, not your fingers. Yeah. So I'm gonna fine chop this parsley.
Just like she did with the garlic.
Yeah.
Ooh, the onions are really strong.
Yeah. Because you definitely don't want a big tooth full of parsley. Parsley's got a little bit of a sharper flavor. Basil has such just like a mild and sweet and summery and gentle flavor. Parsley's more like, ooh, that's good, that's bright, that's festive.
It's tangy.
Yes, parsley is like festive. Basil's like gentle, like, hey, do you need a hug? And parsley's like, hey, the party's starting. The party parsley. Yes, that's good. So yeah, so if you want to just take all of that, why don't you pick up the cutting board, just kind of like brush it in. Good. I'm going to show you what it looks like so far.
It should kind of look like a chicken salad.
It does kind of look like chicken salad.
But the
But it
thing
has
that looks like chicken
almost nothing. That
breadcrumbs that
Oh,
are
it is.
Yes, we're gonna shred the cheese. So I'm just gonna put this.
I know how to shred.
I take a
You
picture
do?
of the food.
Oh, good job.
Oh, I love that.
Andy's my food photographer.
I know how to use that. I used it before.
Have you used it at my house?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
At your other house.
Oh, yes, at our
It's
other house
easy.
before we moved.
It-
All right, so I'm gonna, okay. I am a big believer in real Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. It
I
is
knew it was Parmesan cheese.
Parmesan cheese, but I mean, if you want to get the good cheese, it is Parmigiano Reggiano. I'm sorry I'm butchering the accent, but you want to look for that label. That's how you know it's the good stuff, the real Parmigiano Reggiano.
And it also smells like cheese.
So how much Parmesan cheese do we put in? I don't know. My recipe that I have for myself just says Parmesan and Reggiano cheese. So I don't know. I think maybe
3 pieces.
maybe 4.
Or 4.
It adds so much salty, nutty, cheesy, perfect flavor. So don't start.
How does it add nutty flavor?
Nutty is just a way to describe the flavor. It doesn't actually have nuts in it. So
Okay.
Dana, why don't you hold this down and go ahead.
Okay.
When I put the rest of my parsley in the fridge, I'm
I
gonna
take a picture of it.
okay. I'm gonna wrap it up in a cold cloth so that the stems can have access to the moisture of the cloth. It keeps the leaves nice and fresh and the flavor nice and bright. So you want to look at your breadcrumb mixture with all those veggies in there. If it looks kind of dry and like it's looking like you could form it into a sculpture like clay, that's too dry. Add a little bit more milk.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
If it looks too wet, if it's like soupy and gloopy, add a few more breadcrumbs. Or a slice of bread even. If you're out of breadcrumbs, just throw a slice of white bread in there. Or wheat bread, whatever you have. All right, we're gonna dump in that Parmigiano Reggiano. Was that bad? Okay, go ahead. Dump that in. Oh, that's good stuff.
Ooh, I'm getting that tang there. Too tangy.
All right, so the star of the show for meatballs, of course, you have to
Wait,
have.
let me see the meat. Let me see the
Too
meat.
tangy.
I got this lean ground beef on sale at Publix.
Maybe I could try it.
And like I said before, you always get a bigger bang for your buck when you buy the bigger package. So just make a whole big pot of meatballs and then
And it kind of looks
like a brand.
Use them for leftovers.
Are we
You can make meatball sandwiches,
Ew.
or I should say meatball subs.
What?
So this is kosher salt. I highly recommend using kosher salt. You can really control it better. You don't want to take one of those salt canisters with the fine table salt and you don't want to just pour that in. That's really, I mean, you could really over salt your meat. Kosher salt, you can pinch, you can control it. It's like a little snow. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Can I?
Yes. So I'm gonna let you guys do it, but I'm just gonna do like a couple of, I would say probably 2 tablespoons. I don't know.
Tablespoons are basically 2 pinches.
There's a good way to test your meat too. I mean, technically you could just grab a piece and eat it if you want to, or you can just, when you mix everything, make a little tiny meatball, pop it in the microwave or saute it in a pan, and test your seasoning. Then if it needs more salt, add more salt and test it again. We can actually do that if you guys want to.
Yeah.
So what you're gonna, so when you pinch, don't just take a little tiny pinch, because it's hard to measure when we keep doing this. You're gonna take like a pinch like that. So
Like
go ahead. Yep. And you want to do it above so we can kind of control where it goes. And then I'm gonna do this one.
Move closer.
That should be enough salt, but we're gonna taste test it, because why not? Let's just it's getting late. I'm not getting dinner on the table as early as I normally would. And I'm on my tippy toes right now. I hope you can still see me, but I'm like really getting in here. So at one point while you're mixing, you're gonna realize I just can't incorporate things as well as my best kitchen tools. So I am going to ditch the spoon, and you don't want to overmix. It's kind of like cake batter or cookie dough. You don't want to overmix it. No, with bread you can overmix bread, but with bread you can mix it a lot. With meatballs and cake batter and cookie dough, you want to get in there with your hands and be light. Don't press down, don't squish.
Mommy, can we help too?
You want to do this?
Yeah.
All right.
Could we help?
After you're done doing this, you are going to wash your hands again, okay?
Could we still shape it?
Yeah, you can help me shape the meatballs. Yeah, so you can wash your hands after. Okay, so what I did just say is we don't want to press down and squish it. What we're doing is we're gathering and folding, and we're using our fingers to fold.
We're like doing this.
Yeah, we're just like, it's kind of like swimming, just
stay. No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to gather from the side and mix it with your fingers. We don't squish, we don't press.
A piece of meat.
Okay. All right, so I am going to just 3 tiny little meatballs that we can taste. What do you think?
I'm hungry.
You want to taste test it with me? All right.
Oh yeah.
All right, so don't touch them, they're super hot. I'm gonna get
That's what my
Forks.
mom's meatloaf looks like.
Really? She makes meatloaf?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
love
what
meatloaf.
it looks like.
All right, I'm just gonna cut this open, so.
Okay.
All right, blow on that, Cat, before you taste it, okay? You can hold the fork, it's fine.
Looks weird.
It looks weird because it doesn't have that perfect browning. You can hold it. This fork is gonna go right in the sink. Just make sure you blow it really, really well. This is for you, I'm blowing it.
That piece is for you.
Yeah, I guess I didn't need all those meatballs. You guys can taste it now.
Ah, aha,
Hot?
aha,
All right, let me see.
aha, aha.
It tastes like a
Mm.
medium hot.
It's hot. It's hot. I want to eat more.
That tastes really close to perfect. Really close. I'm gonna add one more nice pinch of salt and just incorporate that in. You guys can share the rest.
You like it?
Yeah, you wanna taste it?
Yeah, it's really good.
You gotta say it like him, and I wanna taste it. This is
I
super,
wanna
super
taste
hot, so hold it.
Can I have a whole bottle?
You can have that, but it's very, very hot. So one more good.
Can you put it
I don't like the hotness.
You like the hotness?
I like.
Can you help me get my stuff?
You can just pick it up with your fingers if you
But
want
it's
to.
hot.
Okay, then you can be patient. I did not do a good job with my onion chopping. I usually chop them much smaller.
You can just chop them again.
No, it's okay. I'm not going to pick them out and chop them again. All right, so we're going to make 24 balls. So how many meatballs will be on each sheet?
12.
Very good.
I don't know
I know
that.
That's okay, honey. It's just like the pout fish.
24.
You don't need to know things that you haven't learned yet.
24.
All right, so it's okay if your fingers are still a little meatball-y.
Can I show the camera?
Sure. Okay, so we want meatballs that look like this, right? This size, nice and big.
I might
I'll
get
get
a
a
little
meatball.
bit small because I can't.
So you roll it up like this.
I
Keep your hands flat. You don't squeeze them. Gentle. You don't squeeze. You roll it.
I
So
know
that,
how to
yeah.
make a bowl.
Yeah.
Roll it.
And then, since we're putting 12 on each, we'll do four this way and 3 this way.
Ready? And
Yeah, go ahead, Sky. All right, Kat. Here's your first ball. Go ahead and roll this up in your hands like that. Good. The oven is set to 350, and we're gonna put the meatballs in and cook them for about 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, so I just set the timer for 25 minutes, and we're gonna check on them, and if they are nice and golden brown and bubbly, then they're ready to go. I'm not too worried if they're perfectly cooked through, because I'm gonna get a pot of sauce going, and by a pot of sauce going, all I mean is I'm gonna open up some jars of marinara sauce that I got at the store, buy one, get one free, and I'm gonna start warming them up on the stove. When the meatballs come out, I'm gonna put the meatballs in the sauce, let them cook just a little bit longer, make sure they're all the way cooked through, and they're just kind of soaking up that marinara, yummy, yummy tomato flavor, and then we're gonna cook our pasta and eat. I've got my water boy here filling up the pot so that I can, you wanna get it nice and filled up with water so that your pasta has a lot of room to swim around and cook nicely without sticking. I wanted to give you a quick tip about pasta sauce. Pasta sauce, marinara sauce, tomato sauce, whatever you wanna call it, all sauces are not created equal. In your grocery store, you have shelves and shelves of different sauces, some with Italian names, some with just random names. And you're like, well, this one's really cheap and this one's super expensive, like what's the difference? The biggest difference is that the cheap ones are basically made with tomato paste and water, basically. The expensive ones are made from real tomatoes. And just, if you just take a look at the ingredients, you'll see a huge difference in the really cheap, like $1 to $2 sauces and the like $6 to $7 sauces, the jars. I'm not a fan of spending a fortune on dinner itself, but I am a fan of making sure that we're using quality ingredients. And my biggest tip is BOGO. If your grocery store has buy one, get one free deals, marinara sauce in a jar lasts for so long, like a year or two. So stock up, find a little bit of space in your pantry and buy like 8 jars at a time of the really good stuff. So when you are buying the expensive stuff, and there are several brands, just look for the expensive ones, look at the ingredients, and buy them when they are BOGO, and you are basically paying the same amount, maybe just a tiny bit more than you would paying full price for the really, really cheap tomato paste based. Come on, that's ridiculous. The tomato paste based sauces. You don't want those, even though they're easy on your wallet. Not good. We are spending so much time making these meatballs so good with so many flavors. You don't want to drown them in tomato paste and water. Yuck. So we used a really good sauce. I threw in about 3 jars. I have another jar in the pantry just in case I need to throw in another one. When we add the meatballs, I'll see if I need to add any more sauce. So I'm heating up the sauce on medium heat right now while the meatballs are cooking. My water boy has filled up the pot, so I'm gonna get that boiling. When it comes to a full boil, sprinkle in like a couple of good handfuls of kosher salt. When I was in culinary school, they used to make us taste our salt water before we added whatever we were putting in, potatoes or pasta, whatever it is. That was really gross. So I don't taste my salt water. I just know that I really want to season it well, because once the pasta goes in, it's really hard to season pasta after it's cooked. So you want to make sure you give it lots of flavor by salting the water. Okay? All right, so I've got my sauce heating up over here, and it's like, I just turned the burner off because it's like trying to bust out of the thing. Cam, careful, hot, hot, hot. So, as I said before, I used jarred marinara sauce, tomato sauce, whatever you want to call it. You really don't need to add much to that at all, but I do taste it because I just want to make sure it is like perfectly seasoned. Sometimes with a really good tomato sauce, just like a little salt and maybe a little bit of sugar goes a long way and just makes it that like perfect flavor. So I'm just gonna grab a little tasty taste here. Cam, you want to taste it? You want to taste it? It's hot, yeah. It's really good. For me, it's not sweet enough. So I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar. You wanna taste it?
Hot.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hot.
It's not hot anymore.
Hot.
It's okay. Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yummy? Mmm. More? So I'm just gonna add a little bit of sugar, sprinkle of salt, taste it again. Stud it a little bit. Camden, can you stop that, please? Camden, say yes, Mama. 1,
No.
say yes, Mama. 2, say yes, Mama. 3, say yes, Mama. Good job. Oh yeah, just adding a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, takes that really delicious tomato sauce to the next level. Do you want to taste it again? Meatballs? Mwah. Pasta has not been going BOGO for a while. I don't know what is up. I want to start making my own pasta again. I used to do that. So, I'm not a big fan of spaghetti. I just think it's too thin. I love linguine, and if you want to, you can break the pasta in half so it kind of sinks into the pot a little bit easier. My kids like what they call slippery noodles, and they want the noodles to be as long as possible so they can do that thing, and it's a whole thing. So I'm not gonna break it. I'm just gonna put it right in the pot, and I'm gonna stir it down as it gets soft on the bottom there. Got nice salty water in there. And then I'll just do like a little bit more. Actually, I think that's enough. I'll do that other thing tomorrow. So I'm gonna stir this. You definitely want to stir pretty immediately after you put the pot. Whoops, that wasn't good. Cammy, yeah, go over there. Meatballs are looking so good. I cooked them for about 30 minutes total. See how they're nice and brown on the top. I did switch them about 20 minutes in just to make sure I was getting good browning on both sheets. Watch out. Turn my oven off, and And now all I'm gonna do is very gently pop these meatballs in the sauce. So very gently, you wanna be careful. You don't wanna pop it in like a basketball. That will splash and get sauce all over your kitchen, and it will burn you. I'm loving these parchment paper sheets that I ordered from King Arthur's Baking recently. They're so easy to slip out. There's no cutting, tearing involved. I also ordered these sheet pans from there. In our last house, we had such a small oven that I had a really hard time just emotionally about it. Then I just kind of embraced it. We lived there for 5 years and I made that oven work. I cooked huge Thanksgiving turkeys in it, but that was the only thing I could fit in there when that was for Thanksgiving. I kind of just embraced it and made it work. But I had to get smaller sheet pans for that house. So once we moved into this house, I was like, I need my actual real size half sheet pans back. So I ordered these sheet pans from King Arthur and they're really great. Okay, so I know it looks like there's not enough sauce for these meatballs, but they will make room for each other once I kind of stir it around. And I also have one more jar in my pantry just in case I need it. So I'm gonna give it a stir. And just very gently. These meatballs are so moist and tender that if you stir too hard or too fast or push down in a rough way, they'll start to break apart. And then you'll have meat sauce. So it won't be the worst thing in the world, but we're having meatballs tonight, so look at that. Look at the sauce. The sauce has completely transformed. You can see just all that good stuff that's coming off of the meatball. This is the most beautiful thing about Italian cooking. Everything just makes, everything you add seasons everything else. It's just one big happy Italian family, which I've never had because I'm not Italian at all, which is just so sad. I'm not Italian, but I cook like one. I'm just gonna put my cover on. And I'm gonna let that continue to simmer while my pasta finishes cooking. While that is finishing up, I'm gonna do these dishes because we don't have a lot of dishes, but I barely have any room in my sink for when we clean up after the dinner table. So it's another little tip when you are cooking. If you have 5 minutes to spare and your kids are kind of occupying themselves, go ahead and get the dishes out of the sink so that when you're done with dinner, it doesn't pile up high. So another reason you want to make sure you've done a few dishes and cleared some space in your sink is, don't forget, we have to drain our pasta. So I have a colander in the sink now, and we're just going to drain this very carefully. Make sure no kids are nearby. Ooh! Go. And then while you're getting everything else ready, we have to set the table and get the kids milk and drinks and everything like that. So you don't want your pasta to start sticking together because it's going to continue to cook. It's really hot, and as it cooks, it's going to want to absorb moisture, and it's going to try to steal the moisture from its fellow pieces of pasta. So we're just going to grab a little pat of butter, pop that on there, and what's better than pasta and butter? I'm just going to use the same spoon I used to stir the pasta in the pot. And make sure that this kind of stops the pasta from absorbing moisture and gets a nice, beautiful, silky, buttery coat on it. Then it'll be easier to grab with some tongs. I'm going to a nice pile of pasta, and we're gonna kind of twist as we drop. You hungry, babe? I'm gonna make a little bird's nest in there because if your pasta's piled high in the middle and you go to put your meatball on top, it's gonna flop over to the side, and that's not fancy at all. See that little bird's nest in there? Do you want one meatball or two?
Two.
Yeah, I figured you want two. And then look at these meatballs. You see that sauce bubbling? Oh my goodness, that looks good. Just gonna grab 2 nice big meatballs. Put them right in the middle. Got a little sauce on the side. It's okay. In the restaurant, we would take a wet cloth and wipe that. In our house, we just call it a decoration.
Mama.
Yes, buddy?
No, James goes.
They look good for you?
No,
Good sauce?
they're not including me. No, when I play with them, they don't play.
Okay, I would like you to use your words. I would like you to go upstairs and say, Jaina and Skylar, I feel like you're not including me. Will you please?
And Catherine.
Sure. Say, Jaina, Skylar, and Catherine, my feelings are hurt because I feel like you're not including me. Can you please make sure you're including me? Okay, thank you. And then for the kids, I usually just take one of these giant meatballs and cut it up and split it because they're, they're huge. So I'll just like cut. Look at the middle of that. Isn't that beautiful? You see the herbs that we put in there, the parsley and the basil. I see a little bit of garlic in there. It's so moist. Look at that. If I squeeze a little bit, you see that juice? Look at that. Oh goodness, I can't wait. And remember, we taste tested it for seasoning, so we know it's gonna be amazing. So I'm just gonna put one of these in each. And then I have plenty of extra meatballs if they want more. And I'll probably cut up another one because I have to give some to Camden anyway. And Andy loves meatballs, so I'll go ahead and give him another. All right, who wants cheese on their meatballs? All right, that settles it. It's unanimous. This is the finishing touch. Sure. Onion out of that meatball. With that. Camden, get off the table, please.